Guard broken. He's getting guard broken. There we go. He pops the clone. That's absolutely hilarious. Is hilarious. Look at Dr. Doom clone. Jessica Jones iframe ignore. He can summon clones of other characters. Pretty good. He's gonna pop the transcendent skill here in a second. What, the targeting on 4 is terrible. This AI is garbage. Is he not using 6? This is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. I've never seen this before. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're reviewing Mr. Sinister's new Hellfire Gala uniform in depth in both PvE and PvP, and I'm gonna try to make this one as short as possible because I did rant for 20 minutes about Colossus, and this one's not going to be too much different from that one if you want a sort of Cole's Notes synopsis. So with this uniform, this is actually the very first one for Mr. Sinister, who was released in March of 2020, and he's a really cool blast villain mutant who, you know, uses bioengineering and this sort of like DNA type stuff to clone himself and clone others. And he's a really cool villain in the X-Men universe. So the devs did a really good job of, you know, recreating his powers in this game, at least aesthetically. You can see there he summons himself for 11 seconds, and then he does this really cool skill on 2 with this DNA strand where he summons a copy of the enemy that he's fighting. So in this case, because it's a robot, he summoned a robot, but in Shadowland, you can actually summon the enemies that you're fighting. It looks really, really dope. So he has two different summon skills, which makes sense for Mr. Sinister. Then he has a third skill that buffs his attack and heals him based on the number of clones on the battlefield. And it's a really high buff. It's a 70% attack buff that goes up by 70% for every clone. So if you do 2 and then you do 1 and then you do 3 right there at the top where he gets to the top of the thing and he does that little thing, he's going to buff himself for 140% attack. So keep in mind when you see his damage, remember, I have buffed my Mr. Sinister to at least 70%, more than likely 140% more attack. Now, the really cool thing, because those skills are all exactly the same, the really cool thing is his new 5 and his new 4. His new 4 you can cancel right away. I'll show you. You can just cancel it right away, and he's going to summon this gigantic Mr. Sinister behind him. It's so dope, dude. And he just blasts off. It's really cool. It reminds me of Marvel vs. Capcom with the Sentinel assist and things like that. It looks really dope. Anyways, his new 5th skill is cool too. He rises up, and then he rains down these energy blasts, and then it explodes. And you can like kind of cancel 5 sort of midway, but you don't really want to cancel 5. So the interesting thing here is, keep in mind, his 6th skill is exactly the same as Betsy's, exactly the same as Colossus's. You just instant cancel it, and it doesn't do very much damage, so you don't want to linger on it. The interesting thing is, for Mr. Sinister, he can be proc friendly, but you have to do kind of a weird rotation. So you start your first rotation with 4 cancel 5, 4 cancel 6, cancel 5. Okay, and then when you're done here, you're going to very quickly do 1, and then 2, and then 3. You want to get both clones, and then 4 cancel 5. You're buffing yourself with 3 at the very end, just before your next proc. So you're gonna do 1, 2, really quickly into 3, and then as soon as you see those buffs, you do 4 cancel 5. It's a very tight rotation, but you can do it, and if you can do it well, you can basically almost perpetually have that 140% buff up. Because take a look at this. Genetic Shockwave, 70% attack for each summoned character, up to 3 for 7 seconds. So you use this right before your proc, and you'll have the buff for the entire proc. He also gets, you know, tons of HP healing, and he has another HP heal on self-experiment, so he'll basically never die for you in PvE. The only downside is, and the only thing well, not the only thing, but one of the things I wish the devs would have done is given him a passive summon, so that buff was always giving him a little bit more, but it is what it is. We're gonna do a stage 9 check here now. I feel kind of bad here. I've hyped up how cool Mr. Sinister is as far as how his skills are in the game and how they're translated from the comics very faithfully, and I think the devs have done that. However, it's the power level that I'm worried about. So 6 cancel 5 cancel 4. This is our opening proc rotation, and then as soon as we get down here, we're gonna summon 1, summon 2, 3, and then really quickly into 4, 5. So this is his proc for a total of like 3 bars with the full buffs, which is kind of disappointing. Yes, if you say that out loud to yourself, it's kind of disappointing. Now, because I sort of lost my, I got stunned there and I lost my timing, we were able to set up the next 2 summons more easily. We just missed our proc there. But basically, he can be proc friendly, as you can see, but yes, it is also a pain in the butt. So a lot of people have said, you know, maybe a rage would be good for him, and that's not a bad idea. But there we go, perfect proc. But I do think you missed the proc there. I do think you can make it work with him, and I think it's really fun to be looking out for the clones and sort of prioritizing the clones. He has a very different rotation in that sense, and you can always just go with 1 clone if you want to be safe and still get at least a 70% buff. Here's the thing. I was ranting, you know, I was talking the whole time. You weren't maybe paying attention to the timer. It took him 70 seconds to clear stage 9. Now, he doesn't have the craziest build in the world, but over a minute with the build that he has and the leadership that he has is not very good. I think if you use this rotation, especially if you have like something like a CTP of Rage, he could be, you know, he could be okay. He could be decent. You could also use a CTP of Judgment. I would actually, let me change my mind. I would not recommend a Rage, but I would recommend a Judgment because he has elemental damage. He does not have guaranteed crit rate like Betsy does, so I would not recommend a Rage, whereas Betsy can use a Rage quite effectively. So I would say you could give him a Judgment and you could stick to the exact rotation I just showed you, where it's, you know, 6 cancel, 4 cancel, 5, like instant cancel 6 and 4 into 5. And then towards the end of 5, with like 2 seconds left on your rotation, you would do 1, and you wait for the little clone icon, that yellow icon with the circles. Wait for the clone icon on 1, then do 2, wait for that one to pop up, then do 3, wait for him to rise up and get those 2 buffs, which is, you know, 140% attack, mamma mia, and then go back into 4 cancel 5. You could also use, if you want to be proc friendly and, you know, more of a budget build, you could do something like a double mind damage or mind damage crit damage proc obelisk. I've got a max HP crit damage 120 proc, but the reason why I'm saying he would be okay at best, he's definitely not going to compete with Betsy. He's definitely not going to compete with, he's not even going to compete with Rogue, to be honest with you. As far as blast villains go, we know that he's not going to compete with, let's take a look here. He's not going to compete with Moonstone. He's probably going to be like Iron Man. He's probably going to be better than Iron Man, above 30% HP, and then a little bit worse than Iron Man below 30% HP. He might not even be as good as Iron Man. So unfortunately, yeah, we're looking at another character who just didn't get enough from the devs as far as reworks go, and it's really par of the course at this point with mutants, but I don't want to rant too much. I'm just going to give you guys the honest facts here. He didn't get enough. And the reason why I know he didn't get enough is that he took 70 seconds, or for those of you memers, 69 seconds, and that is with a crit damage 120 proc and a 35% self-buffing lead. That's right. He has the self-buffing lead like Taskmaster and like Deadpool. You may have forgotten. So this is just not good enough. No, it's really not. Now, the flip side to this character, so for PvE, I would say, as interesting as he is, he's really not good enough for you to invest your resources and expect a big return. He's very cool to play, he's very unique to play because of Genetic Shockwave and the clones. He's basically the only good, he's the only good clone character in the game. And when I say good, I mean good in a serious way, not in like, I'm gonna go play Shadowland with Ultron now way of good. Like you're actually seeing a character with clones in Null World Boss Legend. We've never said that before, right? So, you know, give him credit where credit's due, but I really think the devs should buff him, and I think the best way to buff him is to take these stats here, basic summons, attack and defense. This needs to be ratcheted up, way up, and then they need to give him a passive summon that's always around. The passive summon can be summoned for 10 seconds, and then he dies for a couple of seconds, so it can introduce a level of, you know, gameplay awareness where you have to like wait a couple seconds for your next rotation for your clone to pop back up. But he should always have a clone running around without you having to trigger it. And they should also reduce the cooldown, like reduce the cast speed, because the cast speed on 1 and 2 is just way too long. I should be able to instant cancel 1 and 2 and get those clones right away. Like 1, it just takes too long, man. And then 2, I can go get a cup of coffee while he's doing that, man. Like, come on, he's been studying genetics for centuries. This dude doesn't age. You know, he's been, if you go back and read the lore, he's been alive for hundreds of years. So he really should be able to summon those instantly. If he could instant summon the clones, and if he always had one clone available, and you could tap into that max buff, which is 210% attack, then I think he could be really good and you know, possibly very fun to play for PvE. But looking at his other buffs, taking a look under the hood, it seems like the devs really want you to use Mr. Sinister for PvP, because unlike Colossus, they go ahead and give him guard break immunity. Okay, which is really nice on the uniform. They give him 30% guaranteed dodge, or 35%, which is really good against characters that don't have ignore dodge. They give him this crazy passive where every 90 seconds he pops a 100% heal with 10 seconds of debuff immunity. Yeah, that's really good for PvP. And then he also has damage reduction, and then his artifact gives him the immortality, the Hello Wolverine null artifact that is becoming more and more, less and less exclusive and more common. So I do think the devs have, you know, really pushed you in the direction of, hey, use Mr. Sinister for PvP. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go slap a mighty CTP of regeneration. I know, I'm crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and give him this mighty CTP of regeneration. We're gonna see if the devs really intended him to be used for PvP. I already have 8 HP Urus on him. I'm not gonna be giving him Odin's Blessings. He's only got 77,000 HP, which is honestly my first red flag that it's not good enough. Honestly, okay, all right, we're not gonna freak out in the video, it's fine. All right, let's just re-roll this and we'll see. I'll be back when this is done. We're gonna go ahead and do this. We're gonna give him this buff here, and we're gonna give him this buff here, because he has his own self-buffing lead. He's gonna get buffs from he's gonna get defensive buffs from Colossus, and then he's got that 10 seconds of debuff immunity. And what I'm thinking is he'll drop down to 50%. Dr. Doom, you gotta be kidding me. He's gonna drop down to 50%, and then he's going to trigger that debuff immunity, and then he's just gonna solo his way through. Now, full disclosure here, I'm probably going to get giga clapped by Spider-Man, but let's take a look here. He's getting guard broken, there we go. He pops the clone, that's absolutely hilarious. And cue the memes. I just summoned Sentry to die against Sentry. And yeah, seeing the huge clone in PvP coming up behind him is absolutely hilarious. Like, this looks so cool, right? Now, his 5 seems to be pretty good. He's gonna pop the Transcendent skill here in a second. What, the targeting on 4 is terrible. This AI is garbage. Is he not using 6? This is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. I've never seen this before. Oh my goodness, he just killed Spidey. What is this AI? How did the AI know to save? Guys, I'm not playing. I'm not trolling you right now. How did the AI know to save the awakening for Spider-Man? Because I said he's gonna get giga clapped by Spidey at the end. Well, he might just get... I mean, he's holding his own, ladies and gentlemen. Wow! That actually just happened. No iframe ignore, no reflect. Wow, that was a Chad move there. I know, okay, well, let's disappoint ourselves. Let me show you the flip side. On the other hand, here's what happens when you queue up against Dr. Doom. That was crazy, though. I'm going to put that at the beginning of the video and debate everyone into thinking that he's an amazing PvP character. This is what really happens. You take 40% of your HP right at the beginning, and Dr. Doom just laughs in your face. And he's gone. Okay, that took 13 seconds. Whoa! Did you see the hand? Just the hands? Okay. All right. He may not be able to, you know, he may not be able to carry you. He may not be able to actually bring a net positive to your PvP roster. But as far as the memes go, I was trying to make this video short, but this is absolutely hilarious. Like, this is incredible. Bro, the fact that the AI never popped the 6, I don't know if that was a glitch or what. The fact that the 4th skill is hilarious. Okay, Dr. Doom clone! Okay, here's the thing, though. He just dies in 1 second. Yeah, there you go. Okay, 12 seconds. 12 seconds. This is the thing, Netmarble. Why do this? What's the point here, right? Are you trying to say that Mr. Sinister fans are not worth anything? Because if that's what you're trying to say, I mean, that's the message that you're getting across here. Because you could actually rework Mr. Sinister and make him a good PvP character. Listen, not every character needs to be meta, but you can clearly see that they took 2 steps forward and then they were like, nah, and then they took a step back, right? There's no reason for that, right? A year ago, you guys gave Rogue, an amazing rework. You gave Gambit a rework. You didn't even rework Gambit, but you reworked him. You changed one skill and he became good. You reworked Cable, even though you knew in 6 months you were going to, take his shirt off and rework him again, giggity, right? So you guys know what you're doing. And you rework characters that are way less, there's no way that Jessica Jones is more popular than Mr. Sinister. I have a hard time believing that, but you gave her a better uniform. You gave Jessica Jones iframe ignore. He can summon clones of other characters. That's so cool. Stop, just don't make him trash, right? Like, if he was better, then this is unbelievable. If he was better, then I could actually see this clone pop off once in a while, and this would be absolutely hilarious. Bro, he doesn't do the awakening skill. What's wrong with this dude? No cap. He doesn't do it. So, like, come on. You can see where my irritation comes from, right? Okay, Colossus is possibly a lost cause, where like, the devs didn't even want to give him a heal. That's how much they hated on him. But Mr. Sinister is like not that far off, and Mr. Sinister is such a unique character. How many characters in Marvel Future Fight are gonna be able to do that? To summon a Sentry clone, to summon a Doom clone, like frickin' one, Mr. Sinister. So why not highlight the uniqueness? Like, there's very few games that you can play. Oh my god, this is gonna be hilarious. There's very few games that you can play where the character that you're playing as can summon a clone of your enemy, and you can see that happening in real time with high fidelity. I'm not talking like 8-bit graphics. So look at this. We've got a Mr. Sinister gangbang here. By the way, Gilgamesh has, I believe, 100% or 90% mind damage resistance. So he takes basically tickle damage from Mr. Sinister. As you can see here, I cannot even bring him under 99%. The good news is I survived that with 70% HP, with 700 HP. The good news is that I never trigger his artifact. So it's kind of a 5-head move in my part. I'm thinking I'm playing 4D chess. I'm 5 steps ahead. Colossus has this amazing artifact that gives you a heal and gives you more HP. Baby, I'm not even gonna do enough HP to trigger that. I'm in your head. I'm setting up shop. So anyways, if you want characters that have obviously been stripped down to be sold for parts, that are going to lose or break even in most PvP matches, and who the devs for some reason have a hate boner for, invest in Colossus and Mr. Sinister today. On the other hand, devs, if you're watching, please, okay, please, 제발요, it's please in Korean, please buff Mr. Sinister and Colossus. But if you only have to buff one, I'm kind of leaning towards Mr. Sinister, because that's just absolutely hilarious. He summoned a clone of Sentry and Doom. I love that. And low-key, I might actually keep this regen, get his artifact, and pump him with more upgrades, because I actually just want to see that. I want to see him summon a clone that kills the original. I have to create that sort of hilarious moment in the game, because, like I said, literally no other game lets you do that, and that's why I love this game. So anywho, this was a strange, bittersweet video. It's one of the most fun videos I've had, the most fun I've had recording a video in the last few months. And I'm very curious how you guys feel about Mr. Sinister. Would you get him just for the memes? Probably not. But were the memes good? Oh, they were ripe. They were very ripe. So yeah, cheers for keeping this under 20 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.